My name is John Picchiotti. I am the state representative for the town of Fairfield and Mercer and Smithfield, for the fine people of those towns. And I'm just, I'll give you a little bit of a background and maybe a little story on myself. We moved to Fairfield back in 1980, and we've lived here ever since. So we've been here for 36 years. And my background is basically a business background. I've had a couple of different things that I've done. I have had an insurance office. We had a clothing store in downtown Waterville, my wife and I. And then I've done some various other things when I got out of the insurance business. And I was in the Navy, and I was stationed at Winter Harbor back when Winter Harbor was open, and that's how I met my wife, who was from Waterville, and back in 1962, 63. So, you know, we always loved Maine. I was born up here. My grandmother, grandfather lived here. I spent most of my summers when I was a child here, you know, and we moved back to the Midwest after I got out of the Navy. And we stayed there. I did a little bit of business with my father. Was in business with my father and that. And then we decided that we wanted to raise our kids pretty well, and decided that Maine was the best place to raise them. So we moved back to Maine, basically to raise our kids. And coming back in, now my belief has always been, regardless where I have been, if you take from the community, you have to give back to the community. So therefore, I have done an awful lot of volunteering and got involved within the community, regardless what it has been, and that type, to give back to the community, because being in business, having an insurance agency, having a small clothing store for a short period of time, things like that, it's taking from the community. You have to become involved in the community, and volunteering is the best place to go. Someone's name who you know very well, Don Giroux, who was on the town council at the time, got me involved immediately after we had moved into Fairfield on the Land Use Board of Appeals, and then it went from Land Use Board of Appeals to the school board and the council of trying to help commercial and get business into Maine, stuff like that, into Fairfield. And so we had that. So I was on that committee, and then so on and so forth. It just all evolved into a lot of different committees. Being into Waterville, when I opened my insurance agency, I got involved there. I wound up on the Salvation Army board as board chair there. I wound up as board chair of the REM. Of REM and different things like that. But anyway, it was just a whole lot of different things that I got myself involved into and gave back to the community. It never really stopped. It just kept on going, and it's still ongoing. I'm on the town council in Fairfield right now. I'm the council vice chair. We work hard. We're trying to get Fairfield downtown vibrant again and bring everything in and things like that. So, you know, it's all that part. Plus being involved in Augusta, which is a totally different story. Just want to mention, too, coming up in Fairfield, because I'm also president of the Friends of the Lawrence Library, and we have a summer concert series in the park every Friday night, and it features a lot of all the bands around the town and everything, and they come down, and each one has a separate entity, and they put in a different concert and things like that. So it's pretty neat. We've had it for a few years, and we put it on, and people love it, and it's great. So that'll be coming up. The first concert is on June 10th. And another thing we have coming up on June 11th at 10 o'clock is our food pantry. We are lucky enough to have the Marcoux and many other people who run this food pantry for us. And we have a brand new food pantry that has been did up. The town donated a building to the food pantry behind the town hall, and at 10 o'clock on June 11th is going to be a ribbon cutting ceremony. So anybody that would like to come down and do a tour of the food pantry, take a look at what is there and everything else, I think would be fantastic too, because that group of people does a tremendous job in helping hunger within our area. And getting back to myself, it's just giving back to the community. We moved, like I said, we moved to Fairfield. We lived in Fairfield Center for 4 years, had a house there, sold our house, and moved back in town. Basically, it was a lot closer for the kids for school, so it just made a lot more sense. And actually, at that time, it was quite funny because I had sold my house to another former legislator from Fairfield, to Dan Godowski and his wife. They bought my house out in Fairfield Center, so that's where they lived. I guess it keeps me young. They say it's nerve-wracking, but I'm 73, so it's not something that I need to really expand upon. But it's going a lot every day, every night of the week. When legislative is in session, I know that they call the legislature a part-time job, but in reality it is not a part-time job, because you're constantly working for the people that you represent. Everybody has some problems, and they all have a tendency, they all want to contact, and when they contact me, then I undertake their contact and try to help them out as best I can in the different areas of what we can do. I have a fantastic aide who works, actually we have like one aide per every 15 representatives or something, but they do a lot of work. But they help a lot and can feed us into different things and things. Like I said, it's not a part-time job. It's you may look there and say, oh, well, they only work sometimes 3 days a week and stuff like that when you're in session. It's not true. You're doing it 5 or 6 days a week. And even when you're out of session, I'll probably average anywhere between 2 to 5 hours a day sometimes in doing work for constituents. You have to remember that you're representing the people and not yourself, so consequently when things do come up, you have to listen to everybody. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people are, why did you vote that way? What happened? Well, you don't often see the other situations on the other side of the fence or the other side of the mirror or whatever you want to call it, that it happens, and there are reasons why you do it. And there are some things that can be fixed and need to be fixed, but they're, maybe in the way that it comes out at that particular time is not the best for everybody, and you've got to work for your constituents. You work for the people in your district first, and then the people of the state of Maine. You represent everybody. You don't represent Democrats or Republicans or independents or people that don't even vote, so to speak. You represent everybody. That's the name of the job. And therefore, there cannot be any partisan. Yes, I am conservative by nature from a fiscal standpoint, having been in business and stuff, and I try to watch out for property owners' taxes. That's a big kicker. And different little things, whether it be electric bills, or you want to protect your main industries because you don't want them moving out of the state because of things like that, and it's all got to be worked out. And right now we have to remember that and I still have a lot of people will say, oh, things going in Augusta. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, our session ended almost 2 months ago, so consequently, nothing's going on at this point in time other than some different meetings and things like that different possible committees do and things like that. Now, we're sitting here talking. I know that they are working on, there's a committee in there working on the EPS. That is the formula that sends money to the schools from the, to the towns. And it is the one that, we voted supposedly to make the state pay 55%, what the law had passed, about 55% of everybody's budget. Well, basically what that really kind of boils down to, in Fairfield, for example, I believe this time around the state paid us 63%. In the poorer towns, you get paid higher. There's towns down southern Maine that probably got paid 25%. So it isn't quite, everybody says, well, we're not making it because we don't get that 55. Well, we're actually getting more than 55%. But there is a committee to look at that formula and try to even things out and make it fair for everybody. Because the formula is an old formula. It's based upon your town valuations and goes up and down. I know Skowhegan and Madison got hit really bad because of the mill closures and stuff like that. So the formula is, the committees are looking at it, and hopefully they'll come up with a formula that will be palatable and good for everybody and help the property tax people, because that's one of the things that we get nailed on, is everything that we do, I shouldn't say everything, but a good portion affects property tax people. And those are the people that we have to, particularly the senior citizens, which we have a lot of, and they're on fixed incomes and things, and that's one of the things that really hurts them, is a property tax. One of the things that I see now, and I guess it's always been that way somewhat, but it seems to be getting worse and worse, where it's getting very difficult to find people to volunteer for different boards and things like that. And there is a lot of different things that are going on in the community that need volunteers. They need people's input. They need the hands-on type of situation. If you come into a community, which I did cold when I moved here in 1980, and I had absolutely nothing. I started working out with, I was lucky to have a real estate license, and I transferred from Illinois, and I worked for Dean Nason for a while, before he was Century 21, and I worked for Dean. And the first year or so I was in town, and then I happened to sell a house to a gentleman who was the new John Hancock manager moving into the area, and I guess I did a pretty good job selling him the house, so he immediately turned around and tried to hire me, which he wound up doing, and that's how I got the insurance business. Because in my entire business life out in the Midwest, my biggest thing was that one thing that I will never do in my lifetime is sell insurance. But that so happened, and so I did the John Hancock thing, and then I actually did the Century 21 insurance for Central Maine from 85 to 90, and then when Century 21 killed the whole program nationwide, I opened my own agency, and that's how I got into the business and stuff. And my background, again, because I was at Winter Harbor, the Navy, I have an electronics background, in that I was a cryptologist, maintenance in Winter Harbor. I think maybe a lot more do when they think about it. Maine is nothing more than a medium-sized city, and you wind up knowing everybody from Fort Kent to Kittery, and it just happens that way. You do business. When I had my insurance agency, I had customers all over, up in Phillips, up in Strong, up in Holton. I used to do some work for the Holton Band of Maliseets. I did work for the Penobscots. You go out, you can go to Chamber of Commerce once a month, has a business after hours. What they do is they set up, and in a particular business, and usually maybe two businesses, they set up a thing where you can go. They have a big gathering. They have nice food, depending upon where they're at. Sometimes they even offer free beer and wine. And you can go there and you mingle and you meet people and you talk to them and that type of thing. You get involved in the community, and that's one great way to get involved into the community. There is another group out there that I was a member of that did a tremendous job, and it was called Business Networking International, or BNI. That is a tremendous group, particularly if you've got a business, because what they do is they take one-of-a-kind business. You're all members. You meet, I believe it's once a week, and you sit down and you just discuss your businesses, and you develop, and you wind up doing a ton more business too, because you're talking to people, you understand people, you meet them socially. So it isn't the front door. When you're in sales, got a quick sales lesson. When you're in sales and you go around and knock on somebody's door, go into an office or whatever, they know you're in sales. Immediately, the wall goes up. However, if you go to a business after hours, if you go to a BNI, belong to a BNI, things like that, guess what? You meet these people on a social basis. When you walk through their door, there's no wall because they know, oh, hi, how you doing? You're not a wall anymore. And you learn how to do it. And that's in small towns. Big towns makes no difference. We don't have any real big towns in Maine. But it's immaterial that you wind up doing that, so that regardless, I don't care whether you're working at Huhtamaki or whether you're in sales or what you're doing, you wind up meeting all of these people face to face, and at some point in time, it all comes together for you.